What's up, YouTube? This is True Nerds, and today we're going to talk about games that you should play on Game Pass while you're waiting for the big releases.
All right, everyone. So for game number one, I have one of my new favorites of the year, A Plague Tale: Innocence. So you're going to follow the grim tale of young Amicia and her little brother Hugo in a heart-rending journey through the darkest hours of history, hunted by Inquisition soldiers and surrounded by unstoppable swarms of rats. So this game, the easiest way I can describe it, is a stealth game on rails. It's very narrative-driven, story-driven. It's extremely gruesome. It had me hooked. It's a shorter play. It's only about 12 hours or so, I think, and when I finished it. I talked to you about it a lot, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
The story is amazing. It gets you really hooked into the characters. The music is one of the things that really stood out.
Really?
On this, and I don't say that often, but yeah, the music.
Yeah, no, you don't really.
I'm not a huge audio dude, but the way that the music played with the game, it just had you on edge all the time. It wasn't a jump scare game, but it was very intense, and it definitely had me on edge. So there's combat in the game, but it's more stealth driven. You do have the option to kill enemy players, but you're a 15-year-old girl in this game, so you're pretty weak. If an enemy gets up close to you, you're gonna be you're kind of screwed. So
Going for a little bit more realistic then.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So
okay.
The theme is amazing. It's set during the plague, and it says here 1349, so it's very dark, gruesome, gross feeling.
Okay.
And the cool thing about this, we got A Plague Tale Requiem is coming this year. So it's actually a follow-on, and it's when you're older. So they're saying this can be a little more combat focused.
Very cool. So this would be a great jump starter into that game.
100%. So very cool game. Check it out. I highly recommend it.
All right. My first game up is Dragon Ball Z Fighterz. And so this is it's this hidden little gem that it is after the success of the Xenoverse series, it's time to introduce a new classic 2D Dragon Ball fighting game for this generation's consoles. Dragon Ball Fighterz is born from what makes Dragon Ball series so loved and famous, endless spectacular fights with his all-powerful fighters. Partnering with Arc System Works, Dragon Ball Fighterz maximizes high anime graphics and brings easy-to-learn difficult to master gameplay to audiences worldwide. And so what's awesome about this game is it looks like a comic book or like the anime does. Like they did this like very cartoony kind of, or like anime-ish graphics where you see like drawings, but like it also doesn't look cheesy or fake. It's like high fidelity, but with this art style that like pays homage to like what you're used to watching. So that's really cool. I really enjoyed that about it. And then it's a awesome fighting game. Even if you don't like Dragon Ball Z, I think it's a great just like 2D fighting game that like is really fun to get into. I've played so many kind of other fighting games of topics that I'm interested in, or TV shows or whatever, and they're kind of just like whatever. This one, it really is it really is like easy to learn but difficult to master. You can literally just button mash and you'll start doing combos. It's just it's super like fluid, and you don't have to memorize X, Y, A, B, C. You can just like hit things and it will do combos. They built combos kind of off of everything. So that was just really fun, and it has these awesome like cut scenes when you do like really cool moves that like shoot them out of like your enemy player out of like the little zone you're in into a new zone, and just like the animation to it all and like the moment to moment gameplay is just like really, really enjoyable. And it had a pretty decent story, and it has a lot of DLC with all the like characters if you're really into that franchise. And I think out of any kind of like anime game, this one I had just an absolute ton of fun with. It wasn't like it was an actual really good game that was based off of an anime and not kind of just like them pumping out a game with IP of the anime.
Yeah, the IP I was gonna say on that.
Yeah, just to make a quick buck, like a lot of other games kind of are. This one was a ton of fun, and like really worked well in a like 2D fighting like game that played like the classic like Mortal Kombat and those kind of games. And so it's free on Game Pass and just easy to check out and easy to pick up and play.
All right. So yeah, I didn't realize you were into fighting games actually. So that's kind
of not a ton, but this one was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. That's respectable. All right. So I'm gonna go into my next one, and we got Hades. So a very, very popular game. It's by Supergiant Games. I'm a huge fan of them. So it's a roguelike dungeon crawler in which you defy the god of the dead as you hack and slash your way into the underworld of Greek myth. So cool thing about Hades, I am not a huge roguelike fan, but the combat in this game and the replayability really is one of those games that you can pick up for 10-15 minutes, have a blast on it. It's on Game Pass on console, computer, your phone, so you can pick it up and play wherever you want. So like I said, it's a roguelite. You have certain aspects of the game that you keep with you as you level up your character. If you die, the game's meant to be extremely hard, so you can't get through it. You're gonna die and die and die and die. There's level up mechanics while you're playing that you lose when you die. There's level up mechanics that you keep after you die, and that's a whole part of the roguelite. The one thing that really surprised me about this game, though, the story is actually phenomenal. And I think that's kind of rare for a roguelike game. Usually it's more, combat focused, which this game is phenomenal. It feels amazing. It's so reactive to your controller. You feel like the minute the second you hit your input, it's actually happening on screen. The sound effects go really well with that, so that kind of makes you feel like you're hitting something. And the story just actually makes you want to keep progressing because they sprinkle tidbits every single time you die. And I mean, I died hundreds of times in this game, and I was still getting more story content as I continued on. So that really surprised me. And like I said, just the playability of it, picking it up for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. When you're in a save zone, you can pause, you can save, and then you can be done with it. So highly recommend this game. I know a lot of people aren't really into roguelites, or they're kind of scared to jump into them like I was. But this is a really, really beginner friendly game. The graphics are beautiful, hand-drawn graphics. So definitely suggest you check it out. I don't think you played it yet, have you? You played it at my house for a minute?
I've not actually played it on my own, but I played it at your place. I watched some gameplay on it, and I was really impressed with how the story feeds into the roguelike gameplay. And you're trying to escape the underworld, and like that's not something you're supposed to be able to do, right? And so but you can't die again because you're already in the underworld, so you keep kind of just jumping back to spawn, and it's just this really wacky, fun, like Greek mythology.
It's hilarious. I forgot to mention that your Hades is your dad is poking fun at you every single time you die, because he's like, I told you couldn't escape, dude. And you're like, yeah, okay, Dad, I'm gonna prove you wrong. You literally you jump out of your bedroom window. It's humorous. So yeah, Supergiant Games, huge fan of them. Actually, one of my favorite games that I played on Nintendo Switch is called Bastion. Super fun game, and that got me into Hades. So.
And Hades is also available on the Switch, and it plays really well on the Switch.
It does.
I know we're talking about Game Pass games, but if you check it out on Game Pass and you really like it, it's a perfect game for the Switch to be able to pick up and play portably.
100%. The only downfall of that, though, it doesn't cross save with the Switch. It cross save the Switch and Steam cross save, but on Game Pass or Xbox, it does not cross save, and that's very unfortunate unless you got a Steam Deck. But you know, I still haven't even got my email, and we're looking at March 20th right now. But so yeah, you're up next, bud. What do you got?
All right, so I kind of have like a combo here. I got Forza 4 and Forza Horizon 4 and Forza Horizon 5. Just both amazing open world RPG racing games that kind of like invented kind of a new genre. So the Forza 4 is a dynamic season change at the world's greatest automobile festival. Go it alone or team up with others to explore beautiful historic Britain and shared open world, collect, modify, and drive of over 450 cars, race, stunt, create, and explore. And Forza Horizon 5 is pretty much the exact same thing, except set in beautiful Mexico. And I cannot tell you how much the developers to this game poured into it. They whatever setting they choose, they go and they pick and they film so much of it to make the game look hyper realistic, and it's like really authentic to the area, and you can just like kind of just go, you feel like you're going to explore this like country. So they do things that are very authentic to like that region. So England is kind of known, or like that region has a lot of seasons, kind of like the Midwest does here in America, and the seasons will change. You'll hit spring, winter, fall, summer, and the whole landscape completely changes. And it's just a beautiful looking game. It's a lot of fun. It takes like a new spin on the racing genre to where it's like this open world RPG. You level up your racer, you level up cars, you get into new races, and you kind of go through it. And I played a lot of Forza Horizon 5, or 4, I'm sorry, and I really enjoyed it on Game Pass for free. And then when 5 came out, I was excited to check it out, but I think Halo came out like really soon after, and I could just like never got around back to playing it. But like the screenshots you'll see of Forza Horizon 5 are some of the most realistic things you'll ever experience. And they've kind of said that they took like this 8K camera and just captured hours and hours of the night sky just to like put it in the game and make it more realistic. And like they've done a really good job of doing that. And it's just like, it's also kind of like a little, so it's realistic, but it's kind of this arcadey fun. And so it's like this like really cool kind of like balance of the two, like a really fun game, but also a really realistic game that's just beautiful to kind of explore. And they're both just awesome. And so on Game Pass for free, you gotta check them out.
All right, you're up one more time. I only came with to the party with 2. So.
All right. So my last one, this is going to be a little controversial. It's Marvel's Avengers. But on Game Pass, that you're not paying $60 for, or even they're probably trying to get rid of it for about $20 right now. But the campaign is so good to this game. Is so good.
Then it's not. Correct.
Just don't even like the end game. They tried to make it like a Destiny or a looter shooter like end game, which it feels fine and fun to play with like during the campaign, but there is no end game, and everything they kind of promised for the end game like never came. There are some really cool character expansions that came with it that I believe are completely free to the game, so you can play Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and Black Panther were all expansions that came to the game for free, and they have like their own story that goes along with it that I heard were really good. I never went back and checked out the expansions, but I tell you that the campaign is kind of like a 12 to 15 or 17 hour kind of campaign, and
that's a pretty good chunk for something that promised an end game.
It is, and it ramps up really fast. Like it starts off kind of slow. You're a character that I wasn't really familiar with in the Marvel universe, which was cool because like you get to experience it all new. But you're also playing alongside Thor and Captain America and Iron Man, and they have missions that kind of split off from the story of Thor needs to go do this, and you play as him, and Iron Man needs to go do this, and so you get to play as your favorite characters. And I think they did a really good job of each one playing in a unique way, and it kind of makes you feel like you're that Marvel superhero, which was awesome. But the campaign has this scale, and the final missions, you're just like, oh my gosh. And like what they were able to do with some of these set pieces and bosses got me so hyped for what their end game could have been. Like these felt like Destiny dungeons or raids in the campaign. Like
We've
Destiny
talked about that with the scale. If you see, just huge, caverns or bosses, and that just is a really cool part of gaming when you just have this amazingly huge world around you. That's too bad that the end game's bad, but I mean at the same time, if you want to spend 12 to 17 hours on a campaign, that's well worth your money. And guess what? Your money's zero.
It's on Game Pass. Right now, yeah, so. Exactly. And so that was a lot of fun. I absolutely love it, and I think it's. I mean, if you're a Marvel fan, it's great.
Worth the check just for the story. So I do got one more game. We're gonna do some, not really honorable mentions, but games that we've wanted to play. We just haven't got around to. And this game right here, I've played about an hour of, and I'm actually loved it. But then Elden Ring came out, so I dabbled in it for a bit. But this is actually called Death's Door, and essentially it's like a classic dungeon diver Zelda-ish game.
Ooh.
So by Zelda, you got your enemies all around. Very not cryptic story, but just kind of not a lot of conversations going on when I'm talking like the old school Zelda. And you have a locked door, you kill everything in the area, and then you might get a key, or you might get a new weapon that gets you to a new area. So the funny thing about this game is you are a raven, and you are the Grim Reaper. So you're running. It's actually pretty funny. So yeah, I'll just have to say, reaping souls of the dead and punching a clock might get monotonous, but it's honest work for a crow, not a raven. The job gets lively when your assigned soul is stolen, and you must track down a desperate thief to a realm untouched by death. So essentially, you're running around, and you got bow and arrow, you got sword, you got magic, and it's just a really fun top-down game. Music's great, graphics are great. So
it sounds like the story just sounds fun.
It's a fun one. So. What do you got? What do you want to play out there?
So my kind of number one honorable mention game that I want to check out is just came out, launched on Game Pass, is Tunic. And it was this adorable game that was teased back in 2019 that was supposed to come out in 2020, and because of the pandemic is now releasing in 2022. But it looks like this cute little fun child's like old school Zelda game, but it's more like Dark Souls.
That's hilarious.
The game pretty much tells you nothing. It just drops you in. Any kind of information that you pick up is mostly or all in a language that you cannot read, and you just kind of have to like figure it out, and you'll get a few pieces of information that'll tell you kind of like where to go or what's going on. So you're kind of like piecing together this story. So it's like really intriguing, I feel like, and it'll kind of keep you figuring out what you want more. And then it's like this kind of simple combat that is pretty difficult, and it's like there's like bosses that are extremely hard, and you have to dodge you have invincibility frames. So just like Elden Ring or Dark Souls, none of the things you pick up, items, like tell you what they like do. So you kind of just have to experiment and figure it out. And so it's been rated like really, really well from all these people, but it's just like kind of they didn't really advertise it as this like Dark Souls like or
That's
Souls
hilarious.
like game, but it's this cute, just gorgeous looking like art style that they've been able to do. I believe it's from a single developer, and people are kind of loving it right now. So I can't wait to check it out.
Heck yeah, yeah. After you mentioned that, I do remember seeing that, and I want to check it out. So just the art styles like that, and like with Death's Door, sometimes you just want to have a good feeling game, even though you might be getting your ass kicked. And Death's Door was actually somewhat difficult too. A lot of dodge rolling and whatnot. But cool. Well, thanks everyone for watching. That was a fun conversation. I appreciate Game Pass and where it started and where it's at right now. They're freaking killing it. So super excited to see what we
not
got in the
only
future.
is Microsoft killing it, but I think the developers are really happy about Game Pass too, because they're getting like a pretty solid deal from Microsoft. They're getting paid a portion of the monthly revenue that Game Pass kind of brings in to get it on there. And then a lot of people are going out and you find games that you love, and I've found them too. You buy the game because you want to own it, because a lot of the games do stay on Game Pass for a long time, or have been on there the entire service, but you don't know when they're going to go off or whatever, and usually they're pretty cheap. And I believe you get a discount.
You do, yeah,
on
it's
the
usually
game
like
with
20,
Game Pass.
20%, sometimes more.
Yeah, so I mean, like they've especially these indie like games or smaller games, they've seen massive sales that are extremely uncharacteristic. And so Game Pass is not only good for developers, it's awesome for us, and you can enjoy an experience with like one of your buddies. Like if you don't know what to play, like you can grab one of these games off Game Pass and you can both have the same experience, and you're only paying one price each of you. You're paying for 2 games a year, and you can experience whatever you want, and you can pick something up and have maybe enjoy it for a few hours. And you're like, oh, the first couple hours were fun, but it's not a game for me. But at least you can experience it, and you can try a whole lot of new things. I tell you, there's games that I would have never bought and never even tried.
Say that there's games that I've dabbled in that I normally would never spend money on. I mean, like Death's Door, for instance, I would have never picked that up ever. And I just kept seeing it. I was like, hey, you know what? I was kind of in between games, and I jumped in and I fell in love with it. So very, very good for consumers to get out of your comfort level and realize that you might actually like a genre that you've never tried before.
Yeah.
So,
or some of these like indie studios. Like I was always this kind of AAA gamer. It's like, some of the indie games, they look fun. I'm happy for them, but I don't think I'm going to try them. I'm not going to pay the money to try them out and play them. Well, Game Pass, I don't know, it's got this strange kind of effect on me. Is once you start playing like a couple of them, you're like, oh, I really want to like check out more of these. And like I ended up playing this Naruto Boy, which would be my next honorable mention. Is just this really old school 80s like game with an 80s soundtrack that's just colorful, and it's really simple but a ton of fun and has a really cool story. And so I would have never in a million years bought that, and because it's on Game Pass, like I've kind of fallen in love with it, as I have with all these other games.
heck yeah. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else to add?
All I got to add is stay nerdy.